Uh, I would like to share my views on water governance in smart cities. And basically, by this I mean that there is a whole lot of thinking that is going on in the country about the making of smart cities in India. And I just wanted to give some inputs as to what all should be kept in mind when one talks about achieving the goal of making cities smart. There are four aspects that I will cover in my presentation. The first one is, as mentioned by the previous speaker, that growth of population is an issue. Therefore, I will quickly run you through give you some overview of India's urban population and will present in the next section some urban water statistics. In the third section, I will explain the water supply procedure followed by water supply agencies and the challenges that are being faced. And finally, I will make an attempt to highlight some of the key features that have to be kept in mind when one talks about developing a water governance strategy. As you know, India's total population is 1.2 billion. 833 million live in rural areas, 377 in urban areas. It is expected that by 2050, urban population will be over 800 million and will overcome or will be more than the rural population. That is the size or the absolute population. In terms of decadal change between two points of time, the decadal change showed an increase until the year 1951, but thereafter it declined in 1961 due to change in the definition of an urban area. Again, it picked up until 1981, and thereafter we are seeing a continuous decline in the urban and rural population. One interpretation of this could be that there is a slowing down of the country's total rural and urban population. The percentage of population living in urban areas stands at 31%. It is expected that by 2050, this will reach up to 50%. Rural proportions are slowly going down, urban proportions are going up slowly. If you compare India with many other countries of the world which have a high urban population, such as China, USA, Brazil, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia, India stands second in terms of the absolute size, next only to China. But if you look at the percentages involved here, you can see that the level of urbanization in India is fairly low as compared to other countries. So you could say that the urbanization or India is at a low level of urbanization. If you look at the population of urban population in different states of the country, on the left-hand side, you see a map showing absolute population. Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu have the highest urban population in the country. On the right-hand side of this slide is the percentage urban population all along the west coast of India down to the south, in Punjab, in Delhi, and in Mizoram. The urban percentages are fairly high as compared to other parts of the country. There are about 8,000 urban centers in India where 377 million people live. And the urban centers are classified on the basis of population size. So we have class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 different types of size classes of urban centers. And you can see on this slide, about 70% of the country's total urban population lives in class 1 cities, and the remaining lives in other order urban centers. There are 53 cities which have a population of more than 1 million, in which 43% of the country's total population lives. The states of Uttar Pradesh and Kerala have as many as 7 million plus cities, and this is followed by Maharashtra, which has 6. Now we have India's Smart Cities Mission. This was launched in 2015 for a 5-year period, 2015-16 to 2019-20. It would cover 100 cities. 130 million people live in these urban centers. 35% of India's total population, urban population, lives in these centers selected under the mission. The mission basically aims to, it's an attempt to improve the quality of life of citizens living in these centers, plus it aims to achieve the objective of higher economic growth. Let us look at some statistics available on urban areas for drinking water. you can see that about 70% of the country's urban population has or households have tap water. They have access to tap water. Given below also is a table which shows the availability of drinking water from different sources, not only tap water. All the percentages are almost the same. It stands at 71%. And for those who do not have within premises, they have to go out to a certain distance to avail drinking water. And there is some data available on the city profiles prepared under the Smart Cities mission of the Government of India, which shows access to tap water in cities from treated sources within premises. And you can see that the cities lie within a range of 30% to 99%. Cities like Guwahati, Bhubaneswar, Jabalpur are not doing so well, but Pune and Coimbatore are doing much better. 99% of the households have access to tap water from treated source within premises. One can also get a better understanding if you focus on a city, and you can see that there are intra-urban disparities or differences. If you look at the availability of drinking water within premises in the city of Delhi, you can see striking differences, with some central areas having greater access to drinking water, but in the peripheral areas, these percentages of households served by drinking water within premises goes down. On this slide is shown the procedure that the agency or the water agency follows in the supply of water to consumers. So the sources are three, basically precipitation, surface water, and underground water. Mostly the reliance is on surface and underground water because these are fresh water sources. The agency obtains water from here and transfers it to the treatment plant, from where it is treated and sent for storage in underground and overhead reservoirs, and then supplied to the planned areas by pipeline and to unplanned areas by stand posts and tankers. This is general pattern, but there could be differences from city to city, because in Pune I noticed that many of the slums have been provided piped water supply. So the agency levies some taxes and service charges for providing water and collects the money for providing this service. Can you adjust the presentation, please? Yeah, thank you. So you can look at the two cities of Delhi and Mumbai and how they are trying to obtain water. Delhi relies on the adjoining state of Haryana because of its location and the territorial limit. It relies on Haryana and the adjoining state of Uttar Pradesh, and also water is obtained from Bhakra Nangal Dam in Himachal Pradesh. About 900 million gallons of water is produced daily. In Mumbai, water is being obtained to meet the demand from 6 lakes near the city and in the adjoining region. There are several challenges, as we all know, and have been highlighted by the previous speakers. The first challenge for me is to address the aspect of equity. If you look at the city is quite diverse. There are people from different social and economic backgrounds living in the city, and if they are not covered by a certain service which is very essential to their day-to-day living, then it's not the use of term smart is not appropriate in the case of a city. So you have to serve all the people who are living in the city. This is the photograph from Pune, which has been served. It's comparatively much better than many other cities in the country, where the residents or the slum dwellers have a pipeline right outside there and a tap outside their premise. Then there is a problem of leakages and contamination. Many of the pipelines are old, and there are leakages, and sewers are just running adjacent to them, and there is a whole risk of contamination, and it ultimately affects human health. The third challenge for me is surface water pollution. Open spaces, river bodies are often seen as grounds for dumping waste because of less availability of facilities by the municipalities, and therefore this is the most convenient location for the citizens to discard waste. This is discarded on a daily basis, and also at the time of the occurrence of certain rituals and festivals from time to time during the year. This is an example from flooding in cities. This is also a challenge because it is really emerging as a big issue in current times. We have seen this in Srinagar, we have seen this in Chennai, and in Mumbai it happens quite frequently during every monsoon, wherein there is a sudden inflow of water which creates flooding, and there is a loss of life and loss of livelihood, and it disturbs the entire economy of the city. So for me, and I'm nearing conclusion of my presentation, in order to formulate a strategy for a smart city, the following aspects must be taken into consideration. One needs to understand how much is the demand and supply gap, the intra-urban disparities. Piped supply, provision of water by piped supply is important because it to a great extent ensures quality, good quality of water. The second point is water losses which are occurring, such as wastage by the consumers, by us. Leakages and thefts also occur because we often hear in the news reports about the tankers being diverted to other societies which were meant for the poor, and there is a whole mafia that is operating involved in such activities. Then there is a problem of groundwater depletion because of illegal extraction. The third issue is can we monitor water quality so that when people receive water, it is of drinkable standards, it meets the norms and standards. Fourth issue is metering of connections, because unless you ensure that you know how much is being consumed, it will be very difficult to price and the consumer. The next aspect is the average supply per day. This has gone down over the years. Now water is available 2 hours in the morning and 2 in the evening in many localities of Delhi. Then there is a issue of water pressure which has also gone down. Then the next issue is pricing and cost recovery. The civic agencies are pressurized to keep the prices of water supply very low because of political dimensions, and therefore, while they are spending a lot of water in producing, they are spending a lot of money in producing water, but they have to provide water at a very subsidized rate. Next, in places such as Delhi, which are at the which are having in the neighboring states of Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, there is often a politics over water. There is conflict of water. Whenever reservations are announced and the population is unhappy, they block the supply of water to Delhi. So this aspect has to be looked into very carefully. Next is the issue of unplanned urbanization. Slums come up because of poor monitoring of vacant lands, and when slums come up, after several years, it's difficult to remove the establishments there, and it creates difficulties for the agencies to provide the water infrastructure which is needed. The next issue is the sudden water inflow or flooding, which I've just explained. Also, the capability of water supply and urban development agencies. Now times are changing, new challenges are emerging. People are talking about smart solutions, smart cities. So are the functionaries working in government departments, are they equipped to handle this challenge? Is something to be need to look into. Then rainwater harvesting has been tried in some places like Chennai, but unfortunately in Delhi and other cities, not much importance has been given to this aspect, which is a valuable source of water and should be tapped. Recycling is occurring in a very limited manner. In certain places like Mumbai, public information systems have been set up for the convenience of citizens so that they can obtain water connections smoothly. And also the issue of cheaper water conveyance. In Surat, I learned that they have set up a biogas-based power plant which allows for cheaper conveyance of water. So it amounts to energy savings. And also there are civil society organizations, private sector companies who can be roped in, engaged in handling different components of water. This is an example of a water square which has been designed in a developed nation, but India can learn in the case of crisis such as sudden inflow of water or water flooding. It's called a water square, where water is brought to the square on the left-hand side and then diverted or transferred using stainless steel gutters into basins, from where part of it goes down and joins the groundwater, and part of it is sent to the city's water supply system. Some lessons can be learned from such technologies, which would work excellent in the case of when disasters occur. Finally, since we have this goal of becoming water self-sufficient, I would say that there is a need to develop a better understanding of the three scenarios. One is the case of abundant water. Water is available, but still consumers are not receiving it. Another situation is that of water scarcity. And there are inefficiencies in how to tap water properly. And the third case for me is the sudden inflow or flooding. Unless these aspects are seriously taken into consideration, no plans or policies will work to provide 24/7 drinking water supply. Thank you very much.